Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about some features of programming and the OPT model. And I'll be presenting this to you as if you're a new trainer. You just took the CPT course, and we're at what I imagine a shortened version of what the CPT workshop might look like. So to begin, I think big picture what a lot of new trainers struggle with is how and why do I program differently from one client to the next client? And what that's going to come down to is, what are those clients' goals? What are their abilities? And most importantly, what results did we see in the overhead squat assessment? And this last one can be pretty daunting if we're new to programming. So to help with that, we're going to talk about how we can tie in these overhead squat results with these components of our exercise programming. So to begin, we have flexibility. This one's pretty straightforward. Let's say we have a client with heels rise on that overhead squat. So we know that their soleus are overactive and short. So we will address those by doing some form of self-myofascial release with a foam roller or a massage ball of some kind, and then doing a static stretch to them. After that, we have core. Let's say in our overhead squat we saw low back arch. So low back arch, they have this anterior pelvic tilt. We know their glutes are underactive. So depending on this client's abilities, they're going to be getting a glute bridge of some kind. They're increasing activity of those glutes, getting them stronger, and they're also learning how to stabilize that lumbo-pelvic hip complex. Next, we have balance. We know that in our stabilization level, we're just trying to work on balance from a static balance of the stance leg. So if I have a client whose arms fall forward in the overhead squat, and they're doing well with this static balance, we can progress the exercise and reduce that compensation by adding some scaption to it. So we're getting a bit of a 2-for-1 there. And if that was still a little too easy for that client, we could just progress it by increasing the demand for proprioception by adding a mat or something squishy underneath those feet. Next, we have SAQ, our speed, agility, quickness, which we know is optional in our stabilization level. But if they've done well with their core and their balance protocols, we can go ahead and give them some SAQ drills. I'll address SAQ and reactive together in that we're not thinking about these so much from a corrective exercise standpoint. However, we saw those compensations in their overhead squat assessment, and there's a good chance that those compensations are going to want to show up in this type of training. So we'll have to keep a very close eye out and work on our verbal cueing to get them in a great position, a proper position, less compensations. And an example of a great time to do that is in our stabilization level. When we're working on reactive training, there's a nice 3 to 5 second hold where we get to work on landing them in the correct position to make landing in a good position be more natural for them. Next, we have resistance training. Huge aspect of any of our programs. So I don't want someone with arms fall forward to be doing 3 sets of lat pull down or some pull-ups, because that's going to strengthen those lats and make that compensation worse. A more appropriate upper body exercise might be something like a wide grip cable row. So they're getting less activation to these lats, more activation to these rear delts. It's a great exercise to work on scapular depression and retraction. And then finally we have cardio. Cardio, we're kind of thinking about it similarly to SAQ and reactive. I just don't want to do an exercise that's going to make those compensations worse. I'm not necessarily trying to correct anything here. So cardio, if I have someone whose feet turn out, I don't want them on something that's going to have their feet constantly coming up off the ground, like a stair climber, a stair stepper, or a treadmill, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities for those feet to turn back out, especially if we're not there to verbally cue them in the right position. So a more appropriate exercise for cardio for feet turn out would be something where their feet are going to have constant contact with that base of support, like an elliptical or a bike. That way their feet are less likely to come up and off and turn back out. We do want to think with cardio something that they enjoy as well. The best kind of cardio exercise is something that they're going to do, that they like, because they're way more likely to adhere to it then. So if we can get a combo of something they enjoy and something that won't make that compensation worse we have a great combo of an exercise there. So those are some ways we can tie in our overhead squat results with these components of our exercise program. Now we'll go into a brief overview of the OPT model. So starting off with our stabilization level, phase 1, stabilization endurance, where the goal here is to increase stability and maintain posture for a long period of time. And this can be done through phase 1's slow, controlled tempos and their higher repetition ranges. So this is our foundation. We want to make sure we're doing well in this one, so we're not compromising in our later phases down the road, not compromising movements in the later phases down our road. So we're definitely not going to load anything on this phase unless that movement looks really good. Next we can get into strength endurance. This is fun in that we've already got a base level of stability down. So we're doing a strength exercise immediately followed by a stabilization exercise. And the strength exercise is fatiguing those prime movers. So we have to come up with a creative way that we can do a similar movement pattern that challenges stabilization, that's still light enough that they can get an additional 8 to 12 repetitions on. And doing this is going to increase our stabilization, it's going to increase our endurance, and it's going to increase our strength. Next we have hypertrophy, phase 3. And the goal here is to increase the size of the muscle. Okay? And we do that by increasing our volume and keeping our rest periods relatively short, so about a minute. So if we can increase the size of our muscle, it's going to increase the potential for better force production, so better strength. Next we have phase 4, maximum strength. We're increasing our sets, we're increasing our intensity, and we're also increasing our rest periods. Reason why we're increasing our rest periods, we're using that particular source of ATP that takes so long to replenish, that phosphocreatine, which takes about roughly 3 to 5 minutes to replenish there. So doing this combination of the increased intensity, sets, and rest periods is going to increase our strength or our force production, which preps us for our final phase, power. The goal here is to increase the rate of overall force production. So we're looking for force times velocity to get that power. We're doing a strength exercise immediately followed by a power exercise. And if you're wondering, why not just work on power by itself? It seems that if we do a max strength exercise first, that seems to put the body in a heightened state of neuromuscular excitability. So that is going to increase the speed and efficiency of the nerve impulses to the muscles. So that power exercise is going to be performed faster and it's going to have better outcomes than it would just training power by itself. So that is the OPT model. We've covered some examples of how we can tie in our overhead squat assessment with these components of programming. I hope that helped. That's my presentation. You guys at NASM, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will hope to talk to you guys soon.